Hello Cherries fans, happy Monday to you. My name's Sam Davis.
My name's Tom Jordan.
It's 2 o'clock and we've seen the news today that was only announced less than 2 hours ago that Gary O'Neill has been sacked as AFC Bournemouth's permanent head coach. Immediate reaction, Tom?
Stunned, I think. Come out of nowhere. There was no sort of murmurings or rumours or anything. So yeah, really shocked. I was shocked when Parker went, I remember at the time. But, you know, there was kind of more to it at that point. You kind of thought it makes sense. This is a really weird one because you thought it would have happened either, as soon as the season ended or maybe you'd get a few months at least. I thought if we don't start the season well, might look at it in October. It'll be interesting to be announced, mate, because I think something's happened in terms of a manager being available that they like. And they've been obviously really, really decisive and thought if we want to push on where we want to be, we need to get this guy in. It's harsh on Gaz, for sure. But they're obviously not messing about, mate. And the owners obviously have a direction. And at the end of the day, they're the owners of the football club. And if they don't believe Gary can take them in the direction that this new manager can, they've got to make that call. But yeah, I'm sure we're loved from the outside at the moment. I'm sure everyone's wanted us relegated now. So yeah, back to being that team again, which I don't mind at all.
It's really interesting because obviously last season there was a large group of AFC Bournemouth fans, not everyone we've got to say, but a large group that were pretty nonplussed by his appointment. And then in January, when that run happened, they were almost vindicated in their views by the fact that they thought that he wasn't the man for the job.
Yep.
But he did turn it around, and on that basis, I think a lot of Bournemouth fans then swayed to think, you know what? Whilst I wasn't overly enamoured with the appointment, he's probably earned the right.
Yeah.
And as a result of keeping us in the Premier League, he got a year extension to his contract.
Yeah.
So it's come as a real surprise because I thought he was going to be the man to take us forward. But like you say, it seems like they mean business. Let's have a look at what the club put on their website. This was the club statement. We can today confirm that we've parted company with head coach Gary O'Neill. Gary leaves the club after overseeing 37 matches last season, initially on an interim basis before being formally appointed to his first head coaching role in November. A return of 10 wins and 6 draws in the Premier League was enough to maintain the club's position in the top flight, effectively securing survival with 4 matches remaining following a memorable run of results in April. Now, the key paragraph, I suppose, is what the owner and chairman Bill Foley, obviously loving the fact that the Golden Knights won last week, but he means business. He's not revelling in the afterglow of that.
I think he's still drunk. I think he's just still drunk. He's like, oh no, what have I done?
Gary's achievement last season is one that I'll always be grateful for. This has been a very difficult decision, but has been made with the great consideration to best position ourselves ahead of the coming season. As a club, we've put plans in place for long-term success, with improvements being made to infrastructure, most notably the development of a new state-of-the-art training facility, as we know about, and the ongoing discussions and upgrades to our stadium. We'll take in more in terms of what Bill Foley says a little bit later on, and we'll be going through the chat as well. Welcome to anyone that's joined us. If you can smash the like button, we would truly appreciate it. If you want more reaction as this goes on, including an imminent announcement for a new head coach as well, then subscribe as well, because we'll be bringing it to you first. Of course you'll hear it through the club first. it sounds like if there's an imminent announcement, what's been the case usually before is that we haven't really known what to do with our managerial appointments, and the club's been criticised and they've waited sometimes too long, and after all this conjecture of having big name managers come in, we give it to the caretaker or we give it to the youth coach, we upgrade. Alas, the Sky Bet odds and a few rumours seem to indicate that a deal has almost been done.
Yeah, it seems like there's a couple that look like they're fighting it out in terms of odds and bits and bobs. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Can you pronounce it? IRAOLA?
ANDONI IRAOLA. So at the moment on Sky Bet, he seems to be...
it's updating still.
Yeah, the odds are constantly updating.
He's just favourite over Graham Potter.
Yeah, now Graham Potter as well, of course, the former Brighton manager, also at Chelsea, of course. His spell there wasn't particularly great, but those are two names that have been linked. Of course, we were linked with people like Marco Bielsa before. Of course, we've got a caretaker on the odds list as well, Tommy Elphick's there. But out of the names that you've seen, Tom, have there been any that have maybe caught your eye?
Well, I want Potter. I've always wanted Potter.
Yeah.
I love Potter. I think what he did at Brighton, which obviously a relatively similar sized football club, and what he did there, I know De Zerbi carried it on after he kind of laid the foundations, if you like. But I think he's a top manager, and Iraola I don't know an awful lot about. I know he's had a decent spell as manager at Vallecano and is quite highly rated. I think Leeds were looking at him not too long ago as well, obviously looking for a manager as well. But I've always liked Potter, and I kind of think the Chelsea job was a poison chalice for anyone that went in there, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't like Lampard done any better when he come in with that group. I just what I like is that it sounds from what they're saying that it's a long-term thinking. It's someone that can take us forward, and I think Potter might like another project again, like he had at Brighton. And yeah, that's the positive thing. I think now it probably, now knowing what we know, it looks like they've kind of gone. When O'Neill got the job, it was right. The position we're in right now, we can strengthen in January, but we just got to stay up. So shall we keep a manager that the players are playing for? They're all together, and that would be enough to keep us up. Correct, it worked. But now they've gone. Yeah, he's kept us up, but do we really think he can then take us to the next level? And obviously they've decided not. But there's obviously a Leicester fan in there, which I'm sure they'll be thinking, well, he done more than what the Leicester... And don't get me wrong, he done the job. I think what's very evident, obviously we can't speak on behalf of all Bournemouth fans on it, but I think what's very evident on the things I've seen, obviously a lot of people from the outside looking in are going, this is absolutely crazy to sack Gary O'Neill, and virtually all the comments are from Bournemouth fans saying, well, you didn't watch us then. And I know that sounds very... snobbish really, because we would have taken 15th for the start of the season, but we had a really good April. I think we were lowest in the league for all them kind of statistics in terms of shots, XG, but everything. But we got over the line, and Gary deserves credit for that. But we might have a little diddy stadium and we're a little diddy club, but we did spend over 50 million quid in 1 month to help him. And we do have a good squad. But yeah, he done the job really well. But I think looking forward, if you're the owners of a football club and you're not convinced, then you've got to do it. You've just got to. I didn't expect it either. But it'd just be really interesting who we get in now. Like I say, it looks like it'll be one of the two that we just mentioned. But to be honest, I don't have a clue at the moment. It's all a bit of a surprise. Someone else could suddenly just come out of nowhere.
Do you feel a bit sorry for O'Neill? Yeah,
I feel sorry for him in the sense that he will say, I done exactly what was asked of me.
Almost... slight echoes of Woodgate, really. I mean, whilst he didn't get us over the line in the playoffs, but he's a manager that people sort of almost grew fond of, albeit Woodgate did it through that little up the cherry soundbite. Yeah. But, Gary O'Neill, I think, earned the respect of Bournemouth fans and has maybe been shunted, maybe according to some, maybe a little bit too early. But it's like... We know Watford, are we? We're
always respected Watford and what they do.
But we're not just pulling the trigger willy-nilly. It feels like there is a plan. And look, at the end of the day, if Bill Foley is making all these wild predictions, most of which seem to come true, i.e. Las Vegas Golden Knights, we will not get relegated. He's been talking about... There was a little clip that came out the other day where he was saying, hopefully next season 12th, 13th, season after that 11th, and maybe we can emulate a Brighton. And it's clear that he's looking for a manager that's perhaps got the calibre and maybe the CV for that as well.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I do think it's been a situation where someone's become available with that kind of CV and that thought that has made... I don't think it's been purely looking for another manager to try and get rid of O'Neill. I think something's become available and then we've decided to flip the coin, so to speak. I mean, it could come back and bite him, just like some of his sound bites could have. Fortunately, they haven't at the moment. I feel for Gaz, but I think what Gaz needs to do, once I'm sure this will be a shock to him, is think, I was never in with a managerial chance. I got given this opportunity at Bournemouth that I hadn't really earned it, so to speak. I just kind of fell into it. And now I could probably get a championship job.
Well, that's exactly what John Sparks said. Hi, John. O'Neill leaves with his stock incredibly high. Should be able to get a very good championship job. So it's...
What is him to get a job over Parker? Like both go for the same. But no, I think exactly.
It's a good springboard for him, if anything.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw a few little bits. I mean, it's not going to happen, but because Palace haven't actually announced if they're going to keep Roy or, and suddenly he's like linked with the Palace job. I mean, and that, I don't think that'll happen. What I'm saying is that's what he's managed to do now. So he should look at it.
That won't happen.
What's that? I hope they're not looking to bring Parker.
I
will leave the channel. I totally agree, mate. I think, and whatever you think, and I think it's pretty obvious if you watch the channel regularly that I was never convinced on Gary. But I think if he gets a job, say, like we're saying then in the Championship, I'll be hoping he does really well. I really will, because I think he comes across well. I think he's obviously got certain parts of his coaching that to be learning on the job and still manage to keep us up and putting in some really good showings. There's a good coach there. So let's see what happens. I think it could end up being a really good springboard for him. To
me it feels like, if this was always going to happen, why wasn't this done 2-3 weeks ago? Why has this been left a couple of weeks? It's almost like they've been dotting the I's and crossing the T's in the background with regards to getting this new person in. Whether Gary O'Neill knew about it or not, I don't particularly know. But it's almost like they were wary, like I said at the start of the show, of the criticism that they've got with their constant pondering over who the next AFC Bournemouth manager is going to be, and they've sorted it out so that once they could let Gary go, and then.
This is why I keep going back to. I think that something's happened with whoever this new manager's going to be. Like they've suddenly become available and they've made this call because if you weren't sure, they would have just done it as soon as the season ended, really. But like you say, maybe they've had a little think, they've had little discussions. I'm not sure. But regardless, it's very ruthless and decisive, and I don't think that's, even though it can go both ways at the moment, I think that's probably what we need right now. Some owners that do that. I mean, you can't moan on one hand like we have and Bournemouth fans have of the lack of planning when we've needed a manager, and then kind of moan that we've been too decisive. I know it's getting a balance, but I'm not. I can't. It's a weird one because I'm definitely not gutted. I'm quite excited, but I'm also very surprised. And there's that part of me that kind of thinks, I feel for Gaz not getting to start the season. But I can't lie and act like I was really optimistic going into the season. I personally thought it would do well to make Christmas. That was my personal opinion.
I think that as far as excitement levels are going, I completely agree. I think I was looking forward to football being back, even though we've not been having it for 2 weeks. You'd think I'll be bored of it or whatever, or just but now I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to football coming back, and I suppose it's the unknown that I'm excited about. But obviously, it shows some clear direction from the board, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And they've obviously now got their man, whoever it is.
Yeah, I like the ambition.
There is some ambition there, so it kind of makes me think, right, we are looking to go next level now. Because at the end of the day, I always thought it was odd to give him the job based on the fact that he hadn't got any kind of managerial CV of any kind, really.
Yeah.
Like certainly in first team football.
And he also, in the interim job, he kind of, as much as he did all right when he was interim, he still near the end threw away so many leads because of his tactical decisions. And you thought, what if they, just because we beat Everton, it was weird. Obviously it ended up paying off, so to speak, really. But I agree, mate. And I think first and foremost, you go to football as a fan, obviously I'm sure plenty in the chat and ourselves were there when we were absolutely rubbish at football in League Two. But you go to football because it's an entertainment, you want to see good football. Was I really enjoying the pragmatic kind of style, and it was a little bit handbrake? Not really. So am I more excited that we could potentially get someone that's a bit more explosive and a little bit different ideas? Yeah, I am excited. But I don't mean it. I think when you say excited, sometimes it sounds a bit disrespectful to Gary, and I'm not trying to do that because he done. At the end of the day, if he didn't do the job properly, then we wouldn't be looking at whoever this manager is because we'd be in a different division. And regardless of the fact that I think the main thing was we had players come back from injury, we got some good signings in. Gary was the man leading them, got them together, and we got the job done. So he definitely still deserves credit, and I don't think everyone will be kind of hoping his next job is a successful one.
We're just going to quickly, before we bring in a guest very shortly, we're just going to go through the rest of the statement as well, where it said we've also identified a number of significant targets in the transfer market this summer and believe this change in direction will provide us with the best platform from which to build. Gary will go on to have a long career as head coach or manager, but we feel that at this moment in time a change is in the best interest of this football club, and I would like to place on record my thanks to Gary, and I wish him the best for the future. And like it says there in the end paragraph, the appointment of a new head coach will be announced imminently. So with this in mind, we are going to speak to Jack Tanner from the Daily Echo, who is joining us now. Jack, how are you doing, sir? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. My first day of my holiday is going very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, as we were saying about having a nice little break now, weren't we? And they don't seem to allow that at Bournemouth. But what your early thoughts, Jack?
Shock. Like I say, I joked about going on holiday. Literally yesterday, I was writing up 5 or 6 articles to go up whilst I was away from quotes from Gary O'Neill. That's how unaware of this I was. And I'm kind of in the middle between, because I know already we're seeing two divides. We're seeing Cherries fans fairly okay with the decision, and then you're seeing more general media, more general fans, the neutral kind of being a bit confused by it. I see both camps. I think obviously he did do a good job, but it never felt like fans really took to him, did it?
No, I agree.
But I always kind of felt that it was a case of he was learning on the job, and I saw enough to be positive. I know people will look at the last 4 games and it was very negative, but I do really think they're trying something different. So to kind of judge him on those 4 games, I thought would have been harsh. But it really just seems like it's a black knight decision. And it really speaks about their ambition. But it's very interesting to see how quickly it's turned from being okay with Gary at the end of the season, being ready to back him to get into this point. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think Cherries are quite unique in a situation where other clubs, perhaps, if you do have a lower profile manager, you have the facilities to attract players, such as a stadium or a training ground. Cherries obviously don't have that. So I think if you do want to attract players, you do have to have a higher profile manager, perhaps, to counteract kind of the millstone around your neck of the ground and the training facilities, especially at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Foley was sat there after Vegas Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, won the Stanley Cup and thought perhaps he should be a bit more ambitious with Cherries, because if you think about it, it's 2 predictions he's made about his 2 clubs, 6 years to win the NHL, and Cherries won't get relegated this year, so perhaps he's thinking a bit more bold, and that's why he's ummed and ahed over it potentially and got to this point in the season, realised you make the decision now before you get deeper into pre-season. Be a bit more ambitious, a bit brave.
So this is a story that you weren't prepared for at all, or didn't have any heads up on?
About an hour, half an hour, I think.
Wow. I
had a bit less because I was off today. So I got a phone call from my colleague Tom, and I thought I'd done something wrong. I was kind of sat there thinking that there's no reason to be ringing me now, unless something's gone wrong. So yeah, and we believe appointments ready to go, but the only information we've had at the moment is that they speak English, and that's not necessarily their a natural English speaker, fluent English speaker. They just speak English.
English. Yeah.
So it doesn't really, it doesn't narrow it down.
do you have any kind of thoughts on who you just personally think it could be, or who you think would be a good fit?
I mean, just based on how quickly the turnaround is from making the decision and there being little to no noise, to me that indicates it's more going to be a manager who's currently out of work.
Yeah.
I know Graham Potter will be a big one, but he's taking his time. I think he's smart after that kind of mess at Chelsea to kind of take his time and be very picky with his next move. I think Potter is someone I lean towards, but I do think, not that Potter did a bad job at Brighton, but he very much, his style of play relies on getting a goal scorer, and I just don't think you can, as a smaller Premier League club, I don't think you can get that profile of striker in for the right price without either making your team weaker by not strengthening elsewhere, or just finding that type of striker, that clinical striker, because clinical strikers cost a lot of money and they want to play for the bigger clubs. So I'm leaning towards, I think, Potter out of the managers at work. Potter, even Hasenhüttl, I wouldn't think would be a bad shout, just because even though, yes, it did kind of go poorly towards the end at Southampton, that was after a few years of stagnation where there was little to no investment in the club. Southampton's decision to sell all their experienced players heading into the season and just buy a load of kids obviously backfired. That didn't help either. So I still think Ralph Hasenhüttl still has the ability to manage in the Premier League, especially the sort of profile club Cherries are at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you're a player and you're looking to sign for a particular Premier League club, do you think that managerial pull has its effect, so that, you know, they're probably looking at who's the Bournemouth manager? Oh, it's Gary O'Neill. I mean, yes, I know he kept them up, but he hasn't really got many strings to his managerial bow. Do you think that that's, you know, something that the club have maybe got in mind? If we got a manager with a higher profile, then we might be able to actually try to get over the line the deals that we're looking to get.
It certainly plays a part. It could be the deciding factor, for example, not just like the manager you have. It could be that a player really respects how good a player that manager was when they were playing, like perhaps grew up. I think that's kind of how the advantage like Gerrard and Lampard have, where perhaps even though they aren't the best tactically, they do have that pull. And even working individually, even though it may not seem it, you can improve players just based on your own knowledge and what you're passing on. And like I say, like with Cherry's background in terms of, at the moment, yes, there's brilliant work being done on the training ground, but if you're a player making your decision to sign for a club now, you can't really look at blueprints and like architectural drawings or training ground. You want to see the facilities that you'll be working at there and then. So in that case, when there is kind of, you have to give a unique selling point, perhaps the manager is a priority for Bournemouth here. But you look at Cherry's January transfer dealings, some impressive signings still came in. And I know Gary, when players actually worked with Gary, they really, really rate him, they really respect him. So in that regard, players will talk with other players before you join a club. So word would be getting out that he's a decent manager, but certainly I think there will be a few players, especially the more higher profile players, the players that help Cherries push on, perhaps that's where there's more doubts, and that's perhaps what's kind of forced the decision.
So the big question is, has your holiday been cut short, and will you have to be writing articles over the next few days, or is Tom going to pick up the pieces for you?
I wouldn't say more. I'm definitely not a workaholic, but once something happens, I can't let it lie. So I probably will be doing 1 or 2 long reads. Because it's an interesting decision, isn't it? I'm trying to wrap my brains. It feels like at some point we've seen this. Perhaps it was Brighton and Chris Hughton a few years back when they sacked him after he kept them up. That's like the closest example I can think. But even that wasn't. That was a club with a long-term plan, with long-term owners making a decision with a really well-established manager. It wasn't like Chris Hughton's first year in the Prem. He'd had jobs at that level before and done decently enough. So, like, there isn't really a like-for-like example. And it'll be interesting to see if this kind of there's a domino effect that as soon as you get the new manager in, I know we've already had quite a few transfer rumours, but it'll be interesting to see how quickly that ramps up to being concrete. Because at the moment, apart from the 2 Roma players, Cliver and Vigna, there's something really concrete in terms of actual negotiations going on. It's very much just links. So it'll be interesting to see if a new manager comes in, how quickly Cherries then become active on the transfer market.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Jack, we truly appreciate you coming on at short notice, and if you want to keep abreast of Jack's work, make sure you follow him on Twitter, but also, of course, bournemouthecho.co.uk, or pick up a newspaper from your local newsagent, because I'm sure the back page is going to be an interesting one tomorrow. Jack, really appreciate your time.
Cheers, Jack.
Brilliant. Thank you. Guys.
Take care. That's Jack Tanner from the Bournemouth Echo there.
And a little,
go on.
I mean, it's just never going to happen, by the way. Just had a little outrageous thought. When we talk about transfer rumours, and we're only really linked with Vigna, Kluivert. Right. There's been little ones with Zalewski, ANDONI, all Roma. Jose Mourinho. Should we just get Jose in as well? Speaks the language, bit of a statement. Just get Jose ball in, mate. Just bring all the players with him.
We seem to have and look, this is really interesting. Hope you're relegated. By the way, it's YOU apostrophe RE.
Oh yeah, hope
get
you
it
are,
right.
Yeah.
But you know what? That is what
massive.
That is what the wider footballing sort of opinion will probably be.
A bit like when we sacked Parker. That was absolutely disgraceful to sack him after losing 9-0. And we're definitely down now. So yeah, it always ages well. So looking forward to seeing how this one ages as well.
Because do you remember when who was it there? Like, is it Jokanovic got Watford promoted to the Prem?
Yeah, what's Jokanovic?
And then he got sacked before the new season began. So it feels a bit like that.
I remember Di Matteo winning the Champions League.
Yeah.
And getting done. So yeah, it's happened a lot. I think. I love being. And we're always going to be an underdog at Bournemouth, but I love. If you're liked. That means I always think if you're liked as a football club, you're not really a threat. You're not doing anything. I always think Arsenal were quite liked, and then when they went for a title challenge, no one liked them anymore. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like at the moment everyone likes Newcastle because they're like coming up. But if they start competing, all the big boys will hate them and start saying about how they get their money. So. Yeah, bring it on, mate. I don't want to be liked. I don't want to be liked at all. We may be getting a couple, one or two different faces coming on screen during this show, so it's worth holding on to see who we can get some expert opinion. And if you want to have your say, we might be able to open it up as well. We'll see about that. We'll see how the show goes. A lot of people are asking, what means imminent. Joe Stone's asking, when do you think the new announcement will be? We've got no idea, but just all I've seen quickly, just because I just keep checking stuff, is literally 4 minutes ago. Chris Temple obviously tweeted. He said that he'll be joining Fernbouch on a phone-in programme tonight on Radio Solent from 6 p.m. And on there he says there may well be a new manager by then too. Wow. And that's 6 p.m. So that's kind of obviously not anything concrete, but. I wonder if they're trying to get on at 6 p.m. because I think it might be around that time. I'm not sure. I wonder if it will kind of end of play today in terms of the working day and stuff like that. I'm not sure.
Can we also just talk about something else as well, Tom?
If you want.
This was on Arnaud Danjuma's Instagram story. Look, we're not saying the photo is recent. We're definitely not saying the photo's recent whatsoever because I believe that was the old Vitality training top. But it's just a little bit weird. Why he's posting that on Instagram? Why?
Yeah, he knows he's posting that and perfectly showing the Bournemouth badge for a reason. Has he suddenly been contacted about potentially coming? I'm not sure if he has. Then I'm gonna have to delete a few tweets. But yeah, I mean, I'm not being funny, mate. Take all sentiment out, and whether you think it didn't work for it. Have a laugh that it didn't work for him at Tottenham. He's a bloody good player, isn't he? And I said to you just before we come on when there was that link with IRAOLA, whatever his name is, IRAOLA, the Vallecano manager, was that, well, he's a manager in Spain, so he will maybe know Danjuma more than Sarah Potter, and that might be part of it. Not sure. Does Danjuma want to go into coaching? I ain't got a clue what's happening anymore. But yeah, it was all a bit weird. That come out just before, didn't it, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. But, yeah, Danjuma and Potter would be lovely stuff, mate. I would love that. I can't think. Is there anyone else out? I thought the interesting one there from Jack mentioning Hasenhüttl. I haven't really thought about him. I think he's like 33-1 at the moment, by the way, if you want to take Jack's on. Not that I recommend it. I see what you're saying about being out of work and a decent manager. And let's be real, he was. People never thought he'd done amazing at Southampton, but as soon as they took him out, they got relegated. Yeah. And I do think he was. I don't think Southampton fans ever thought anything other than his time maybe come to an end. But he was a good coach, so that wouldn't be something that would I'd be, kind of really against. It
Let's
wouldn't
take
be
a-
my personal preference.
Well, let's
but-
take a look at these names now. I mean, Andoni Iraola. I mean, I couldn't
Always
tell you
liked
much
him.
about him, but Tom's always rated him. Of course, Graham Potter comes with a tremendous track record at Brighton, at least. Jesse Marsh.
No, thank you. Definitely not. I think that's
I believe that we will win.
I think that's a lazy link because of the fact he's American.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with there. But yeah, hopefully not him. Knutson, I'm convinced doesn't exist. He's linked with every job. I don't think he's a person.
Yeah.
So I'm not having that. Gerrard, no thank you. Ain't he just gone to Saudi Arabia?
They might have.
Yeah. Nuna, I think he is out there as well. He's out somewhere like that. And yeah. Vieira, I think, is not that. I wouldn't mind that. I think he had a bad run at Palace, but I think he's long term. He could be a decent coach. Don't see it though. Andy Barry ain't got a clue. Carlos Corberan, no thank you. Chris Wilder, no. Carrick,
I mean, like the odds are getting.
Yeah.
I mean, like Rafa Benitez wouldn't say no to him. Tommy Elphick's up there.
Yeah, imagine all that. We just go in house. Daniel Farker definitely not. Lampard don't even go there. Ralph, as we mentioned. Russell Martin's just about to get the Southampton job, isn't he? Woody's still in there. Who's right at the bottom of the? You got Solskjaer, Allardyce, Omri, Harry Redknapp.
Of course, Harry
Bring them
Redknapp.
back together. Why not?
No managerial speculation is complete at AFC Bournemouth without Harry Redknapp. So yeah, that is the latest. Here we go. Oh, I love all this.
What we got?
I love all this. You know what?
We
What I
kept
find
you up by just like
what I
not
find
bothering.
funny is people like Madman. You think, Everton Football Club, a club with such prestige. How low is your bar now you got that you have to come on a Bournemouth fan channel and have a go? I absolutely love that. I love the fact that you're even
fan,
trying to
that's-
give it some Madman.
Have you seen, brother? I hate them, but it comes up sometimes. I don't follow them or anything. That Barstool,
Yeah, Barstool Sports, yeah.
I'm not a fan. But they've just put Barstool exclusive. Frank Lampard is amongst the shortlist to replace Gary O'Neill. Oh God almighty. But no, I don't. I just saw that then, but I don't think there's anything in that. Just keep refreshing that, mate, to see if there's anything updated. Be interested to see when it's going to be announced and stuff.
So what we'll do is we'll open it up very briefly. You'll have seen on Twitter, on Facebook and YouTube, we've posted the StreamYard link. So if you want to get involved, then feel free to give that a click, and then we will certainly get you involved on the show to get some more reaction, because obviously this channel is not just me and it's not just Tom, it is you as well. And like we did promise, we will be bringing back the fan debate shows throughout the season. We're finding some of the remarks on chat very interesting, actually, to see what a lot of people are saying. I mean, I don't think anyone over there is largely upset by Gary O'Neill being let go. I think it's just a little bit of bewilderment, really. But first person we'll get on is a regular face on the channel, by the way, of Ben Phillips. How are you, sir? You all right,
mate?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Right, Ben, immediate reaction to what you've seen today?
Obviously, at first it was a bit of a shock because, it just came out of nowhere. There was no really links of us sacking him anywhere. But on the back of the net TikTok, it's at AFC Podcast. So I've made a little 2.5 minute video on what I thought. And to be honest, I'm not that against it because obviously of the ambitions that we've got. I know that it's a risk, but I wouldn't say I'm annoyed because I made a reference to how we could have done so much better under O'Neill. The games that we chucked away, Arsenal, Spurs, Leeds, stuff like that, and with the squad that we've got, and the fact that we do, I remember Kirk at the end of the season, and I agree with it. We don't really have a massive identity in terms of what formation we play. I still don't know if we're best in a 4 or a 3, and certain player positions as well that still we haven't quite worked out. But yeah, so I'm not massively against it, but that's as long as we get in a reasonable appointment. But it was good to see that the club said that we were looking at getting an appointment in that kind of matches the ambitions that we have. which hopefully means it's not going to be an internal appointment, because to be honest, I've had enough of them.
Yeah.
But it obviously, to the other Big Six or non-Bournemouth fans, it's a bit like, oh my God, what are you doing? He kept you up. But I genuinely believe he didn't. Obviously, he did a great job, but I feel like he's not the only man that could have done that.
Yeah,
that could have done that, because we went on some bad losing streaks in that time. We lost some silly games that we shouldn't have, put in some bad performances, which were combated by wins that maybe we should have got. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. I don't think it really isn't. Especially with the money that we've got, which I think is a key that not many people realise, because a lot of people think we got no money because we've got a small ground.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, fair play.
I just seen on there, I just wanted to say, it's quite funny, I don't know if there's much in it. There was a flight that landed at 9:30 today from Amsterdam. Yesterday on Dan Juma's Instagram, he was in Amsterdam. Then he basically tweeted in Amsterdam. Then there was a flight that landed from Amsterdam to Bournemouth, and then he tweeted a picture of him in a Bournemouth top. So read into that what you will, I'm just the messenger.
Out of all the people in the world to go on Flight Radar and have a look...
It wasn't me, it was someone else, I've just seen it.
Ben, really appreciate you coming on.
Cheers, Ben.
Thanks, mate. Who else have we got? We've got Aaron Kay here as well. Aaron's here. Aaron, how are you?
Hi, chaps. You all right? Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Oh, by the way, sorry, Aaron. Mark McCann. Sky Sports News understands Andoni Iraola is in advanced talks with Bournemouth over their vacant managerial position.
Right.
That has come in 38 seconds ago. I was on the ball.
38 seconds ago. Aaron, do you know much about him?
Absolutely not. I just Wikipedia'd him before. He's had 3 teams. I haven't really heard of any of them. But he's a 40-year-old Spanish guy, I think, as far as I know. Relatively highly rated from what I've seen in the last 20 minutes. The fact we're in advanced talks is interesting, because I was actually about to say that for once we seem to have done it the right way, where we've actually got someone signed, sealed, delivered before we announce the departure of the manager, unlike saying, oh, Sean Cooper will be taking over in the interim, which is typical Bournemouth. So the fact we're in advanced talks means obviously it's not over the line yet, but based on that, based on the odds, which, on the basis that no one's ever heard of him before, most people haven't heard of him before, those odds speak volumes. So it looks like it is going to be him. And I can't say one way or the other how I feel about him, because I just don't know enough.
Yeah, I mean,
I've heard his name being highly rated, but like
yeah, it's one of these things we just don't know. But it seems that we're turning more to the continent as a club than we ever have, before, in terms of the players that we're looking to get over the line. And this is obviously a name that Blake and Hughes and whoever else have been, chatting to for quite a while. Otherwise, surely this would have been announced, previously. Yeah,
and he played in America by the looks of it, which might be a little link. He played in the MLS 2016. He was at New York. So yeah, I don't know if that's. But yeah, Rayo Vallecano, I'm sure have had a good season under him. And yeah, he seems to be highly rated. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know an awful lot about him or his style or anything like that.
It's just a bit more of a gamble on the respect that, I think you mentioned Potter, Tom. I'd love Potter in Bournemouth. He seems the obvious fit if he had any interest in us, simply because he's kind of tried the big club, didn't work out. It's another project. We've obviously got money now. We can hopefully look ambitious and get to where Brighton have got to in a few years' time. And he's got experience in the Premier League. The issue again here is that there's no experience in the Premier League, but then nor did De Zerbi. So, and I've always been sort of saying, over the years I've supported Bournemouth, it's always an English manager. It's always someone with a link to Bournemouth. So if he's another De Zerbi, then I'm all for it. But it's just impossible to say, because I'm not. I just don't know enough about him. So am I upset about Gary Neal going? I'm not devastated he's going, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's no surprise. I do feel sorry for him, though, I have to say, because he fulfilled his remit. But I never thought he was the long-term option.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the general consensus, doesn't it? That people, I agree totally. There'll always be respect there. As I said, I'll always want him to do well, and I hope I think he's got the potential to be a decent coach and a decent manager somewhere. But yeah, I was never totally convinced. Personally, I never really understood what sort of play we were trying to. Do you know what I mean? I didn't understand. One week we were quite expansive, and then we were defensive, and I don't know what was going on.
How are your kind of levels of optimism now then, Aaron? Are they sort of increased as a result of this?
Yes. On the basis, as I said, I just don't ever think. I wasn't convinced on his style, his identity. he obviously did an exceptionally good job.
Yeah.
I am excited. I mean, there was a time I was going last season, and I think like you and a few others, and quite a few of the fan base, the fan base never really were fully behind him. It was evident as well. It was just a funny feeling about it. It was a strange season all round, and not singing his name, and it's a really tricky one, and it's be nice to get behind someone again, everyone united together. As I said, I wanted someone, someone I'd heard of would be nice, but having that's what does that mean? I mean, I don't know anything about these type of things. So who am I to say? I'd like to think everyone's done their due diligence, and he's obviously exceptionally highly rated. If it is him,
very much so. Tom's just gone to make the coffees. I expect we'll be needing them. So thank you so much for coming on, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. See you soon.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Elsewhere, we've got Craig Beasley here as well. Craig, how are you? Right.
Hello, Sam. Good to see you again, mate. Good to see you.
Look, it's well documented that you were a supporter of Gary O'Neill. So how do you feel for him right now? Because you must be sort of feeling a bit... I mean, it must be weird because, you supported him till the death. He keeps us up quite comfortably in the end with 4 games to spare. And now all of a sudden he's let go when most Bournemouth fans almost came round to your way of thinking, all right, he certainly deserves a shot.
Yeah, I'm absolutely gutted for Gary. I was lucky enough to meet him along with Al Gard when we met him just before the Brentford game at home. And he's an absolutely lovely guy, very, very astute, very clear and driven in his management style. So, yeah, very disappointed, mate, that he's leaving the club. I was hoping that there would be a place for him in the coaching setup, because personally I think it would make sense. It would make sense, from my perspective. But I've done a little bit of research actually, and I do recognise this name, IRAOLA. In fact, he's been manager of Vallecano for 2 seasons. So they finished 12th on both occasions. He's also got victories against Barcelona during that time as well, and won them promotion 2 years back. So he's got a very good track record in Spain. How that will transition, I'm not sure, but it looks as if it's something that's been ongoing for some time, because having a look on their website as well, it appears that he actually left towards the end of May. So who knows? I reckon there's been murmurings, or there's been discussions between Bill Foley and AREOLA for some time. But
I think so. Based on the fact that it seems, because we've never done this before, we've never done this kind of instant. It sounds almost like there could be an announcement tonight. So it's almost like over the last few weeks they were crossing the I's and dotting the T's. No, you can cross I's. You can't dot T's. You know what I mean? But it sounds like they were doing that. And fair play to them for doing that. But does it make you sort of maybe optimistic that it seems like we've got a clear vision and like we've got a ruthlessness about us?
It seems like there's more clear vision than there was when Scott Parker was sacked. They didn't have a contingency plan, and this is what Brighton do so well. Is that when Potter left the club to go to Chelsea, they knew straight away who was coming in, and that was De Zerbi. I think as well what they're planning on doing is also having I think they're trying to copy the Brighton model. So effectively, Sam, bring in players who are young, hungry, like Atara. He fits the bill. Hame Traore fits the bill. Kluivert as well. I'm sure, I understand that's quite close. But then, growing them with this football club and then selling them on for a profit, which is the way that the AFC Bournemouth are going to grow, really.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Craig, we're getting through a number of faces, so I really appreciate you coming on at short notice. I'm sure, Pete, I'm sure you'll be giving your own reaction on UTC IAD. I am certain, so I'll be tuning into that.
I've already done it, actually.
Oh, love it. We'll tune in very shortly, no doubt. Thanks for coming on.
All right, mate. Good to see you.
Cheers.
See
Okay,
you soon,
take care.
mate.
That's
Bye-bye.
Craig. Elsewhere, we've got David Cordell in Washington. Hello, sir. You all right?
I'm all right. I'm recovered from my recent hospital stay, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I saw something about that, but all is okay now. You doing good?
An episode of Global Amnesia, which is kind of a good thing to have when you can't remember what's happening. But
Blimey.
anyway, so yeah, excited by the news. I think it's the right decision. Feel sorry for Gary because he did what he was supposed to do, which was keep us up. But I never had. I think Tom mentioned it before. I never felt what was our philosophy? How did we play the game? It was like never really knew what we were doing one game to the next, and for that reason alone, I think Bill Foley wants success, and I think he wants to make sure he has the person in place at the beginning of the season who he believes can get that success. If you're going to do it now, I mean, I heard some people saying, well, why didn't we wait till Christmas and then see what happens? It's too late then. If you're going to do it, you got to do it now and give the preseason to the new coach. So I'm excited. Bill Foley is ruthless, but he's also successful. And sometimes you have to be ruthless to be successful. So I think we'll be all right.
Is it your door that's open, ready for the new manager to come in? I don't know.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, I'm sure he knows. So, yeah, like you say, I sort of echo the sentiment that I do feel a little bit sorry for him. But in terms of, like what's to come, like you say, like Bill Foley's underlined his vision, and it's clear to see that they thought Gary O'Neill maybe had some kind of ceiling.
I think that, and I think also what probably didn't help Gary last year, and maybe it's a little unfortunate, is the last 4 games of the season. I know he was trying things out, and I get that, but losing 4 and not having the success at the end of the season when you're safe. Yeah, I really think what they want is someone who has a philosophy and who can play a certain way and use the players that they're going to bring in, and really take us to the next level. I mean, I know Bill said on the interview the other day when someone asked, and it was great, by the way, that the press conference, the first question was about Bournemouth, not about the Vegas Knights. It was like, but I think he wants. I think he wants success. And he said 11th or 12th. I think he wants higher than that. I mean, maybe he's just being a little bit more cautious. But he got the Stanley Cup in 6. Why not the Premiership title in 3?
Well, exactly. David, thank you for coming on, and hopefully see you soon during the season because we'll be doing more of these. So yeah, be great to have you on.
Finally, you're coming back to them, man.
We're bringing them back. Why not? It's just not mine and Tom's voice. It's everyone else's at last. I've been waiting for it more than anyone, to be fair.
What you want is lots of voices, right?
Yeah,
hey, Tom,
exactly.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, Tom's just bringing the coffee shortly. Thanks for coming on.
See you soon. Bye.
You all right, Tom?
Yeah, good mate.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened since I've gone, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Got manager yet?
We've heard from Craig, we've heard from David, and hopefully Richard's going to come back soon. We will pop the link in chat again if anyone wants to come in. Look, we won't be doing this for long because we'll be trying to sort of take in exactly what's going on. Tom, what's the latest on the street?
Just seen that Mark McAdam has been on Sky, and I just listened to quickly his little thing, just saying that looks like we're in advanced talks. He was at Vallecano. Apparently Leeds approached him in January, but Vallecano wouldn't let him speak to him. And then at the end of the season, his contract was up, and he decided not to renew it after being there since 2020. There's a few little bits on there about kind of tactical stuff. There's a tactical analysis thing that people are sharing about him. He played under Bielsa. He's played alongside Lampard, Villa, Pirlo. His ideas are deemed to be quite Bielsa-like in the way his philosophy, quite high risk, athleticism, quite attack-minded. So yeah, it sounds positive in that sense. But I vaguely remember being playing at right back for Spain. Don't know much about him as a manager, but it sounds positive. Plays on the front foot and things like that. So but it looks like that's going to be the one. Then I don't think Mark McAdam and Sky wouldn't kind of share that info if that wasn't true. So yeah, looks like it's going to be in, mate. So intrigued. We got Ben Yousaf who's come in as well to have his say. Ben, how you doing? You all right?
Not too bad, guys. How are we all?
Yeah, very good, very good. Nice to see your face again. Immediate thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind this happening. Okay, I didn't slate him last season, not massively, because he was with us, and you just don't really do that. At least I try not to, as far as I can. But we had no identity. We had no real formations. We were constantly reacting to the opposition rather than being ourselves and imposing ourselves upon games. The mid-game changes, okay, some of them started to get better towards the end of the season, but some of them were absolutely baffling, and we threw so many leads away through performing them. He's a cracking coach, and I mean, I genuinely think that the reason it's taken a little while to do this is because he was offered a spot on the coaching team, but you can understand why he might not want to take a step down, especially given having had almost a whole season as a Premier League manager. And his stock is massive, and he's going to get plenty of decent offers. And he goes with all my best wishes, and I wish him a cracking career. We got rid of Pulis for playing rubbish football, and he didn't go on to do too badly for himself, did he? So, fair play to the bloke. What do I know about ARAOLA? Not a lot. Got to be straight down the line there. Not a lot. But he's young, and if he's coming here for the long term, and if he's got a style of football that he is interested in, that he can impose upon us, and the players buy into it, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I had a comment from Dan O'Reilly saying, I'm not a Bournemouth fan, but sacking him for finishing probably above your expectations when English managers, when are English managers going to be given a chance? Which led me to think, have we ever had a non-British or Irish manager before?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
I don't, obviously, Sean O'Driscoll, was he like part Irish? Was he like half English, half Irish or whatever? But, I don't think we've had a non-English, British Isles manager before, which will be a brand new thing for us, won't it?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Obviously, it sounds like, from what Jack said, that he obviously knows the language, because he said that he's English speaking, so he obviously knows the language. But yeah, I don't think we have. I think that's, unless someone could pull something out, I don't think we've ever had a foreign manager, so to speak. So yeah, that's a new one for us.
It's not long ago. It was exciting. We had a non-British player, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Edgar Davids and Frank Demouge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean, let's pay some tribute to Gary then, because he really did pick up the pieces, didn't he? After that, that 9-0 at Wolves.
Liverpool.
Sorry, 9-0 at Wolves.
9-0 at Liverpool, and then it was against
just
Wolves.
Just imagine if we had a 9-0 loss at Wolves.
Yeah,
a 9-0 at Liverpool. We played Wolves afterwards, and managed to get a point from that. But then the Forest game, and I think at one stage he had one of the sort of longest unbeaten runs in the Premier League. But it was as soon as he was, given the job officially, Ben, wasn't it, that it all sort of fell to pieces in January. But then he did have injuries. He was at that point getting new players through the door almost on a sort of weekly basis. It was very hard for him to gel. But
sorry. Hasn't our team always been solar powered though? I mean, don't we always slump in December? And when you go back 15 years on this one, we generally December, January, we always hit a slump for some reason or another. So I don't think that's necessarily just because he was given the job full time. The players definitely bought into him. They were always saying cracking stuff about him, non-stop. So they might be a bit. That's a weird one. Whether the new guy can come in and impose himself on the dressing room, But then you look at those 4 games at the end of the season as well, where we really should have been taking, points. Getting ourselves safe is one thing, but it just wasn't great, was it?
No, it wasn't great. Ben, we truly appreciate you coming on, mate.
Cheers, Ben.
Have a cracking afternoon, guys.
Thank you very much. That's Ben, Yousaf. We've got podcast regular Neil Dawson here.
Hey.
Neil, how are you?
That was a shock, wasn't it?
Very much so. Very much so.
Like, I was in a meeting at work and I came out of it and I had 38 WhatsApp messages. And when you just think, shit, someone at home's died or something, and and then as soon as I clicked on WhatsApp, I could see there was obviously our group chat, back of the net group chat, my lad, just every mate that I've ever known that supports Bournemouth, and all of a sudden I thought dramatic news, and I wasn't really expecting that.
What do you know much? Do you know much about the new guy? I gather that you might know a little bit about him. Is that right?
And ARAOLA, is he confirmed?
Not yet, but Mark McAdam has suggested that we're at advanced talks. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's advanced talks. So it looks like they've been sort of, going on, and they're just ironing out the finer details at the moment.
I hope it is him because I mean I've been mentioning him for a few years on various different forums.
Yeah.
If you look at, so there was sort of him and De Zerbi coming up at unfashionable clubs in Europe. Sassuolo for De Zerbi and Rayo Vallecano for ARAOLA. Similar ilk to Eddie Howe. Amazing football, bringing people through, getting the best out of players that might have had average careers previously, and taking unfashionable clubs to places where they've not been before. So just logical link really for me is, you would try De Zerbi or you would try ARAOLA, bearing in mind we're not going to be a club that, is signing 60 million quid left wingers or midfielders, etc. So I'm delighted. I mean, obviously, anyone you take from the continent is a risk, but he speaks English because he played New York City for a year. And he's just incredibly well thought of. Leeds did everything to try and get him in the spring. I think they're still trying to get him. Apparently it's rumoured that he's got 3 offers on the table from Premier League clubs. Apparently Notts Forest are one of them. So clearly he's highly sought after. So I'd be over the moon if it's him.
How does it make you feel about the AFC Bournemouth hierarchy? How you're going for this manager, because it shows a little bit of intent for once, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? That the club put out. I mean, why would they put out that it was the owners that made the decision on Gary O'Neill, and not? So they said it was a Black Knight decision, didn't they? Not, which implies that it's not the decision of Neil Blake and Richard Hughes, which I thought was really odd. Because does it really matter whether it's their decision, whose decision it is? I thought it was quite odd that they put out that it was just them. So. But yeah, so it certainly shows intent. I mean, I'm not surprised. I wasn't never an O'Neill fan. I think he had a brilliant April. I think the rest of the season was distinctly below average. But obviously, at the end of the day, April is wrapped up with the whole season, and you get what you get. But and he kept us up, so we owe him for that. But we all talked about strange in-game tactics, strange substitutions. The football was pretty dull. And then once I think the players got themselves across the line, kept their contracts intact, and then look what happened the last 4 games. It was like, Jesus, pulling teeth going to games, which I think kind of, if you're playing for a manager, you give your all right the way through, don't you? So, good intent. I think they're planning on spending big, and I think they want to spend it behind the person who they 100% trust.
There were a few little things that happened after we were safe. I mean, for instance, I was quite surprised, Tom, when we did beat Leeds. We weren't mathematically safe, but Gary O'Neill came out in his interviews and said, yeah, we're as good as over the line, when mathematically we weren't. And to me, that, no manager has ever done that before, where, they usually border on the side of caution, don't they? They err on the side of caution, but he didn't do that. And there are a few little moments during the season where I thought, he's just showing a little bit of inexperience there. Yeah,
I probably agree. And like Neil said, I think them final games where it's kind of all about, he can just implement his own style because there's no real risk there. We're already safe. And then when he did try and implement his own ideas, it was pretty tedious to watch, which concerned me going into the season. But as with everyone, I think I did expect him to be given the start of the season. I probably, if I was totally honest, now you can kind of say I probably thought he'd struggle to keep his job, kind of with the start if we didn't start too well. So yeah, I quite like the intent shown from the powers that be. And yeah, without knowing too much myself, all the murmurings and the style of football and how well he's thought of, I think this could be an exciting appointment and one to get behind. So and he'd probably have a bit more rapport as well with players. It does also make me think, I don't know if you've seen, Neil, but we were just talking earlier about Dan Juma putting a picture up of himself in a Bournemouth top today.
Have you seen that? Yeah.
He's obviously plays in La Liga, so.
That is the oddest thing. There's absolutely no way at all there has to be some form of intent in that. It's an old picture, isn't it? Apparently.
Yeah.
You think he's on holiday? I think in Dubai, isn't he? So you think footballers on holiday have got a myriad of pictures by pools and on jet skis and speedboats. Why would you post one of you wearing a Bournemouth training kit from a few years ago? That there absolutely has to be something in why he's done that. Whether we'll find out or not, I'm sure we will pretty soon. My only worry for whoever comes in, I don't know if you've had a chat about this because I've only seen parts of the show, is it's a horrendous fixture list. So I feared for Gary O'Neill's opening 2 months. I thought he was going to, the fans would get back on his back, and that makes the stadium not a good place. Whoever comes in, they've got the fans are going to have to stick by them because the first 2 months are Yeah, you could bring Pep Guardiola in, he'd struggle with those 2 months. I think it's going to be tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like last season where I remember going, God, we've got to beat Villa on the opening day, otherwise we're in trouble, and we did. And it seems similar with West Ham at home, doesn't it? That got 6 points the first game of the season. But it's not a nice start to the season. So yeah, if you can, like Neil said, I was worried that it could get toxic again because everyone would go, see, this is what happens with Gaz. So hopefully, with it being a new manager, we'll get that time and that back in. And definitely a tough start for him.
What next for Gary O'Neill then, Neil? I mean, what sort of level could he be? I mean, Championship level at least. I'm sure after what he's done in the Premier League with Bournemouth. Do you think?
Yeah, I think the it's a win-win really. I think because I think we had to kind of move on to someone better for the direction we want to go in. I think he now should be able to walk into a decent Championship job because I think if you were Championship chairman, you'd look at it. I think it was overhyped a little bit, the job he did, because I always think our squad was better than people gave it credit for. But I think Championship chairman won't know that, and they'll think, here's a guy that took a squad that all the media said we're going to finish 20th and got it to 15th. I'll give him a punt at a club like a Stoke or a Preston or something like that. So I think he will. He's got a good reputation in the game. It won't do him any harm. He'll get a payoff. He's got a year left, doesn't he? So he'll get that money and he'll walk into another job. So always round, I don't think it's too bad for him. And I think he deserves that. It wouldn't have bothered me had we, earlier on in the season, if we brought someone in November or December, had we kept him, because I think he's a very, very good coach. I just think it's a different thing being a manager.
Yeah, I agree.
And what does this mean for the likes of Tommy Elphick, etc.? Because a lot of these managers often will come in with their own backroom staff. So what will happen to them? Will they still be around or not? I think it's a shame if we haven't got that continuity. People like Fletcher probably looking over their shoulder thinking, am I going to be all right? It seems to be a time of transition for us, but we've certainly got the monetary firepower, haven't we, now to sort of overcome whatever sort of niggles we might have for the season, because it's clear that this is their man. But I just wonder what will happen to the backroom staff.
There was a rumour, wasn't there, that one of the reasons we fell out with Bielsa was because he wanted an entire clear out and to bring all his own people. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But I heard that it came from a number of different sources. So it might well be that part of the discussions with ARAOLA, you see it with some managers, is they blend some of their team with some of the old. So I think Eddie Howe did it when he went to Newcastle. He didn't have a whole clear out. He kept 2 or 3 of the senior coaches there, like that chap Graham that we had. And I think... So you never know. It would be a shame for Elphick and Cooper and Fletch. So I'd like to hope we can keep them in some form or another.
It's done.
He's
come in, appointed. Bournemouth have just tweeted.
I bet he was done yesterday.
Yeah.
But I just think for the respect level, you have to do it a different way around. So there's no way they would have announced a Neil this morning without that being 95% nailed on.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give him the respect of at least 2.5 hours, Neil. It is good news. So, Neil, a new name, new excitement. I think, a lot of Bournemouth fans are now, you know what, I wasn't not excited about the new season because I always like club football being back, but I was probably going into it remembering the last 4 games of the season. Yeah. And I think that would have contributed to a lot of the pundits having us down, etc., and being linked with relegation yet again. But now this sort of breathes new life into the season, and our first non-British Isles manager of the club, by the sounds of it, as well, Neil.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a lot of firsts, haven't we, recently, and this was an inevitable first. If we were to stay in the Premier League, I think that it would happen for us. And I just hope that it's seen as a project, because with his skill set and everything, I hope that he would be someone that could survive a long sticky spell, and that they build an era around him rather than we have an ownership, because we don't know much about our ownership yet. Are they the sort of ownership that if he has 14 bad games, we'll try someone else? I don't know, but hopefully it's a sign of a new era. I do think we're going to struggle with a song though, lads.
I just got. Have you seen all the ones recently with West Ham singing "Just Sold My Car to Lucas Paqueta"?
Go on.
I'm surely that could work somewhere.
Yeah, it probably could.
Just drove my car to pick up ARAOLA.
Yeah,
we'll get something going. We'll get something going.
We'll get it. Well, I better go back and do some work.
Yeah, you go for it, Neil.
Nice
Neil,
one,
thanks for coming on.
Good to speak to you.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, Neil. Neil Dawson there, back of the net, regular. So yeah, it's been confirmed. Let's go through what it says. We'll bring on Robbie very, very shortly. We just brought it up on the website. Welcome, IRAOLA. First thing I want to do is know how to pronounce his name. We're delighted to announce the appointment of ANDONI IRAOLA as the club's new head coach on a 2-year deal. Okay. He arrives at Vitality Stadium following the expiry of his contract at Rayo Vallecano, where a successful 3-year spell ended with an 11th place finish in La Liga. He earned promotion to the top flight in his first season with the Madrid club in season 2021 before taking them to the Copa del Rey semi-finals in the following campaign. We're going to scroll down and hear what Bill Foley had to say. We're so excited to welcome ANDONI to the club. With his contract in Spain coming to an end this summer, we wanted to act quickly. He was highly sought after by other clubs across the continent, and his style of play has been an important factor in making this decision. His achievements in Spain have certainly been very impressive, and we're confident he's the right man to lead our next chapter. We'll go on and read more of that very, very shortly. Before we do that, we'll speak to Robbie, who's with us. Robbie, wow, what an afternoon.
I know, well, just totally unexpected, but put a big smile on my face, actually, just that last news in the last couple of minutes. But also Neil as well. I mean, because obviously, 2 hours ago, I had no idea who this fellow was, right? And listening to Neil, who I bow down to with his footballing knowledge and his assessment of IRAOLA, I think gives me confidence in terms of where we're going with this. Just the 2-year thing is an interesting thing. So that's, could it have been a bit longer? I don't know, but I think he looks like he's a guy that could take us to the next level. I'm not sure what the next level is. Foley's talking about 12th, 13th, then maybe 10th or 11th, what have you, in that interview he did earlier this week. But by all accounts, looking at a couple of tactical analysis of him, it looks like it could be quite an exciting journey over the course of the next season. So, super excited. I'd also want to wish Gary O'Neill well. I don't think he was the right man for the job. I thought we stayed up despite him, not because of him. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but we were pretty poor in a number of games. And you look at our stats, and our stats weren't great either. Anyway, did the job he was there to do. That's fine. I really think we can move on, and it looks like on the face of it, this guy is potentially the guy that could take the next step for us. So yeah, super excited and very happy about what today's brought, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's quite exciting, especially like I say what Neil said, and just looking into bits. It's I'm more excited than anything else. So yeah, and we've obviously got it all done very, very quickly, and he's highly sought after. A lot of clubs were looking at him, so it feels long term as well, which I like. Obviously speaks the language as well, because you never know when someone hasn't managed over here. But as Neil said, he played in America and he knows the language, so all very exciting. But yeah, busy, mate. I just got a missed call from Solon. It's all going off, isn't it? It's all going off today.
I think the timing's really good as well. I've seen a couple of people say, "Oh, why now? Why now?" It seems to make absolute sense to me. 2 or 3 weeks from the end of the season, we've had time to do a bit of a debrief, a review. I think Tom mentioned 10 minutes ago that it sounds like this might have been in the pipes for 2 or 3 months, right?
Yeah.
But it looks like we've done stuff today that we admire other clubs for doing, right? In terms of being quite assertive, getting it done before pre-season. The guy can just, get going from day one. He'll probably be involved in maybe some of the transfer business. He'll be aware about who's coming in, what we're trying to do. So it's just like super positive. And actually since Eddie left, it's very un-Bournemouth-like, but in a good way. So no, super excited and really looking forward to what next season brings now.
And it just shows the pull of the Premier League. He got to a Copa del Rey semi-final, 11th in La Liga, and he wants to come to 15th place Bournemouth. But it's the pull of the Premier League. But obviously, what Bill Foley is actually promising him, and he's obviously he's invested into the project that we've got. Yeah,
look, realistically, maybe not now, but we're the 19th or 20th biggest club in the league, right? But it is the power of the Premier League that does it. I'm sure we were able to compete with many clubs across Europe in terms of the wages that we were prepared to pay him, but also the quality of player that we're probably able to attract as well in the Premier League would be higher than going to a mid-table side in Spain or in Italy or something like that, because of the money that the Premier League can offer. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a big statement for us, and just really excited to see what he can do here.
Robbie, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers,
Guys. See you later.
Cheers.
All the
Thanks
best.
very much. Cheers. So yeah, just reading through a few comments on the chat, mate. Very, very interesting. Are you seeing much on Twitter? Like any reaction there that's interesting?
Yeah, a few bits about his style, and it's quite an attacking style. Jack Tanner actually just put on there that obviously not having a holiday, by the way. He said the biggest difference is how quickly Rayo Vallecano pressed in comparison to Bournemouth. So they forced 367 high turnovers in La Liga last season, 100 more than us. Wow. So it's quite high press, quite risky kind of tactics. So yeah, it sounds exciting, but yeah, remains to be seen. And yeah, let's get Arnie in and let's go.
Well, I think one of these. It seems like they've done a lot of the stuff in terms of the the meeting. Like Bill Foley's obviously had his sound bites prepared. I'll be interested to see whether there'll be an interview come out on AFC TV at some point, just to hear from the guy. And how weird will it be to have someone like, what's he, Spanish? Is he?
Yeah. He played for Spain. I do remember him as a right back very briefly. I want to know when he played. Did he play in a World Cup or something?
Yeah, I think he was a right back.
Yeah, yeah, he's obviously had It's interesting as well, because I think Neil mentioned it. Vaguely now it's starting to ring a bell a little bit in terms of when we got rid of Scott Parker and there was them De Zerbi, Knutson, and his name was there. Yeah. So he was kind of in that mould of these upcoming managers that teams are looking at, and obviously De Zerbi ended up being a really successful one with Brighton. So hopefully it'll be similar for us. But yeah, I think also, as Neil said, we've just got it'll be exciting now going to the stadium. We've got to back him early doors. We've got a tough start, and let's see what the philosophy's like and how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited, mate. I am excited. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be weird, like I say, really. Just come out of nowhere, and it has come out of nowhere. But
absolutely bizarre.
I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Let's see what other people are saying over on chat after we just finish up with the press release from Bournemouth, where they went on to say, we've identified a number of targets in the transfer market. This thing's kind of quite key, really, which, along with our January additions, will supplement our strong playing squad to give Andoni the best chance to consolidate our Premier League status and keep progressing. That, I think, is really interesting. Andoni starts work with the playing squad and backroom staff at the beginning of pre-season in July. He will have an early look at his new team before heading to a warm weather training camp, as we know, in Marbella, with the Cherries facing Hibernian and Maccabi Tel Aviv in the first two pre-season training matches.
Hibernian.
Yeah, I know. And that's on the 13th and 16th of July, respectively. His first taste of a Vitality Stadium match day, that will come at the end of July, with the club hosting Atalanta and FC Lorient before the visit of West Ham United to start the Premier League campaign a week later. So no mentions at this point of any backroom staff or anything like that.
No, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I would have thought he'd want to bring a few over, but you never know. It might only be a couple, and then you've got to remember that Tommy and Coops were doing stuff with the youngsters quite well, and that could be an easy transition to go back there. Not sure. I was just looking because I thought, have we got any Spanish players? We have, apparently. Da Costa Gonzalez, the young lad. He's Spanish. So I'm gonna have a little look at their team. So if there's any names I think he could bring over, I'm just gonna decide on someone.
Liam Moore says, "Good luck from a very jealous Leeds fan." Perfect.
They're
chance.
gutted, by the way. Which is sorry, Liam, because you're on the channel.
Sorry,
and you seem like a decent Leeds fan, but yeah. Just to rub it in, as they've all been, when I typed his name in on Twitter, it's mainly Leeds fans who are all buzzing about getting him.
Really?
So that's a shame, isn't it?
So he said, perfect chance to install a new manager with a new identity. You won't go down next season, so perfect time to kick on.
Do you know who Vallecano's striker is?
No, go
on. Radamel Falcao, do you remember him?
He was
at United and that. He's 37,
wow.
So maybe not. But yeah, don't really know much of their team, to be honest with you. So.
What else we got? Tom O'Donnell says, Danjuma got to be certainty now. La Liga experience. ARAOLA would have seen him play a lot. Maybe Lerma would have stayed if he'd have come in.
I've been excited. Oh yeah, can we get him back? If we pay him like $100,000, you got him for free.
Catherine's here. Hi, Catherine. Hope you're all right. He was favourite for the Leeds job. Yeah. What else have we got? Leeds fans.
Spanish managers are good, aren't they, Catherine?
Leeds fans being cooked again online, mate. Mad. And yeah, so like if Dan, I mean, like when you saw that Dan Juma training, I mean, like you'd have him back, wouldn't you?
God, yeah.
Like you'd just be having to go back through your Twitter and maybe removing a few tweets.
It was all just light fun, really. I think we were all annoyed at the time because we thought, Arnie, you loved it. You could have come here, played a real big part, and you've just gone to sit on the bench. That was a surprise. But listen, I'll throw anything that I've said about him in terms of morality and stuff, and I couldn't give a shit because he's a bloody good footballer. And I've still got a Holland shirt, and I remember. I'll be fine with that. But yeah, that'll be, it's interesting, that one. That'll see if that develops. But yeah, he'll have his own thoughts on players and stuff, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be a part of them discussions because, you know, if he's coming in and as everyone's saying, he's highly sought after, he's only going to come if he knows he can get some players in and he can get the squad he wants. So that's even more exciting, the fact that this guy is clearly got kind of a lot of teams will be looking at him. So that means that he's bought into what we've offered him, which is a real positive.
We'll wrap up the show in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, but if you want to get involved on YouTube, we've pinned the StreamYard link. Look, we're very interested to hear what you got to say. I think a lot of you are going to be feeling very similar to us in terms of not really knowing much about the guy, but you know, Leeds fans are seemingly educating us. But the ones that we have had on chat have said, you know, you certainly won't go down. So this is.
I liked when everyone thought we were going down.
Keith Thomas has come on to say, really pleased. Finally, some 21st century football at Dean Court, but he doesn't think that Dan Juma will be coming back. Do you want to get to know our new manager?
Go on then.
Right, let's get to know him. We're just reading this as it is. So yes, appointed head coach, 2-year deal. He's had a successful spell at Rayo Vallecano where he received plaudits for his distinctive style of play. Right, this now makes me feel bloody old because I was born in 1981. He was born in 1982.
Well, it makes me feel like you're both old, to be honest.
And now he's a manager of my football club. He progressed through the ranks at Athletic Bilbao, where he established himself as a club legend, making his debut in 2003. Became a key player for the Basque Country side. 31 appearances in his debut season. Like you say, right back. He never made fewer than 30 league matches across his 12 seasons at the club. So incredible consistency. The 5th highest appearance maker in their history. He was also at Bilbao, where he spent 2 seasons playing under Marcelo Bielsa. So an interesting link there. But following a 2-year period at New York City between 2015-16, when we were just gracing the Premier League, he then retired and began his management career. That was at Larnaca in Cyprus. He led the side to the Cypriot Super Cup there. He was also named at the helm of CD Mirandes as well, newly promoted second division side. You know a lot about them, of course.
Good side.
And secured an 11th position finish in his sole season in charge. Like we said, taking him to the Spanish Cup. But then, Rayo Vallecano as well. August 2020 joined them, achieving promotion to La Liga in his debut season, winning the playoffs. With one of the smallest budgets in the division, he led the club to a 12th position finish in La Liga, securing home and away victories over none other than Barcelona. He received attention from a lot of Europe, but he's here at little old AFC Bournemouth. We've got Mark McAdam joining us now for a bit of raw reaction. Mark, how are you, sir? Busy day?
Yep, there we go. Sorry, I think I was upside down there. Yeah, busy day. Actually, funny enough, I'm sat in the car park at Old Trafford because I'm on England duty at the moment. So I've been following Gareth Southgate and the boys around to Malta and then back up to Manchester. And when I was tucking into my beans on toast for lunch in the city centre, getting ready to start work around 3 o'clock at Old Trafford, I didn't expect this news to drop. So like most of the Bournemouth fans, they've been caught by surprise today. Hugely exciting announcement. Of course, I feel, immensely gutted and sorry for Gary O'Neill that he wasn't given the opportunity to try and see if he could push the side on from keeping in the Premier League, obviously. I think this is a new era for the club. And once again, Bill keeping everyone on their toes.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Do you think that we were talking about it? I don't know what you think, Mark. Do you think it's more that Areola's become available and they've decided we want this guy, we want this direction, rather than it being like, oh, not sure about Gary, let's look for someone else? Because I feel like it's more that this guy's become available, so they've wanted to go for it, and Gary's unfortunately ended up losing his job because of that, rather than us not believing in Gary. Do you think that's fair?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think that's the very wise thing that you said there, and I think it's very accurate. I don't think this was we don't like Gary O'Neill, he's doing a bad job. This is we think there is someone out there that we can get that would be brilliant for this football club. And that's why they've made the decision, as opposed to anything to do with Gary O'Neill. So yeah, this is a manager that was very highly regarded by a number of other sides. Marseille and Monaco have approached him in the last few weeks about becoming their head coach. He was obviously approached by Leeds as well in February, but that was not backed by Rayo Vallecano. And Andoni himself wanted to wait until the summer before making his next move. And if you speak to a number of other Premier League managers, they will tell you about ARAOLA. They know about him. They're aware of him. They've watched his games. They've watched the way he sets teams up. They're exciting to watch. They're dynamic. They've got a clear identity. So I think within the footballing world, there will be a number of people that will look at this and go, yeah, that is brilliant. That's a fantastic appointment. A lot of Bournemouth fans will look at this and think, oh, this is a bit different. We've never appointed a foreign manager before. I don't know who he is. Let me look at Google. Let me look at Wikipedia. Oh, he hasn't managed any massive sides. But the long and short of it is he's been punching above his weight with Rayo Vallecano, finishing 11th and 12th in La Liga. You look at some of the results this season, as you've already been touching upon, beating Real Madrid, beating Barcelona. That doesn't happen as a fluke. You might get one of those a season, but in La Liga, you know that the difference between the top 2 or 3 sides compared to everyone else is bigger than it is in the Premier League, where obviously things are a lot more competitive. So, not surprised. And I think, knowing Bournemouth as I do, they take head coach appointments really seriously. And they would have been watching him for the last couple of years, no question about it. They were doing the same when Scott Parker was manager of the under-18s at Tottenham. They were doing the same with Gary O'Neill when he was, coaching the Liverpool development squad. They constantly review managers, look at styles, philosophies, and the way teams set up, and they go, this is someone we believe could be good for us. Let's keep watching him. The same way that they have always tracked and monitored players. So I'd be confident that this is an appointment that could be a good one. But I know for a fact that they always do things with a lot of due diligence. They spend a lot of time. There's a lot of prep and homework that goes into these big decisions. So therefore, you have to kind of back them. They've been at the club for a long time in terms of the existing board members, Neil and Richard and so on. And then you've got Bill and his team that have come into the football club as well with their super ambitious ideas. And together, you've got these decisions that are being made, the money that's being spent. And only we'll know in 10, 15, 20 games time when the season starts how well things are going, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And we go on from there. But that's what makes football what it is.
Have you heard anything about, we briefly touched upon it, in terms of the stuff? Do you expect him to bring some people maybe from Vallecano with him? Or do you, because I'm thinking about we've got so many that have been there years, and obviously a lot that have got, the football club at heart, people like Steve Fletcher, etc., etc. Do you think there'll be a bit of an overhaul, or are you not sure?
Not sure is the honest answer to that one, guys. I'd love to be able to give you a bit of insight information into what may or may not happen. I simply don't know. It's all happened so quickly. The club's kept this under wraps for the last 48 hours while they've been making these decisions and obviously speaking to the relevant people. Obviously, you've got Sean Cooper and Tommy Elphick involved, as well as Steve Fletcher. There's a number of good people. Obviously, Tim Jenkins was brought in by Gary O'Neill as well. And I'm sure that Andoni will want to bring his own people in, and he'll have his own staff that he trusts and wants to work with as well. So I should imagine, as a guess, there will be a mini overhaul. I can't imagine a clean sweep of everyone being kicked out the door. There may be 2 or 3 departures and 2 or 3 people coming in, because I think Andoni will need to have someone in his backroom team that understands the group and the Premier League and the dynamic of the football club. But I don't know. That's me sort of purely sort of speculating and guessing as to what may happen.
Gary O'Neill, his management career has just got started, hasn't it? And his stint at AFC Bournemouth is a pretty good CV, really, isn't it, for anyone that's interested? Do you think he'll be picking up work pretty easily?
Yeah, I think he'll be back in work as soon as he wants to be back in work, really. I think there's no question. We saw it, in a number of games and performances over Gary O'Neill's tenure, 40-odd games I think he was in charge for. You saw good performances, you saw strong individual performances, you saw players develop, you saw people get better, new signings adapt to the Premier League very quickly. You saw things that weren't so good. Some performances weren't strong enough, and there were moments where you thought, this feels like it could go one way or the other. But ultimately, you can only judge Gary on the whole picture, and that was a really successful campaign. He picked up that side after being beaten by Liverpool 9-0. They went on an unbeaten run. There were some really strong results in there. Great away days at Tottenham Hotspur. Fantastic result against Liverpool. There were some real highs. There were some goals. There were some low moments. But ultimately, he did exactly what he was asked to do. If you'd said to Gary O'Neill and Bournemouth fans, on February whatever it was, when they were plumb bottom of the Premier League and everyone thought we'd get relegated, don't worry, you're going to finish on 39 points and survive, and it'll all be because of the players and Gary, you'd go fantastic, amazing, incredible. But I know for a fact as well, whilst Gary O'Neill was interim manager at Bournemouth, there were, I think, 3 or 4 championship sides that all reached out to him and said, look, you're an interim manager, we'll give you a manager's job. Do you want to come and manage our side in the championship? And he said no. He said, no, I'm going to stick with this process. I'm enjoying my work here. And Bournemouth as a board have been, very good with me, and they've been patient with me, and they're allowing me to try and take this challenge on. So I think there's no question there'll be a number of other chairmen right now picking up the phone to their fellow board members and saying, Gary O'Neill, young, exciting British manager, someone that's got good experience as a player, someone that's just kept Bournemouth in the Premier League, would he come and do a good job for us? And I think he'll be back in work. I'd be surprised if he wasn't back in work within the next sort of 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's because I'm sure he's just as stunned as we are and gutted right now, especially as you say, he turned down other opportunities. But I think once it settles, he'll know that he's given himself a really, really good opportunity now. And I think he'll be a really good coach for someone. So I'm sure he'll be back. Before, we've got to tap into this.
Yeah, we have to ask you something, Mark. We have to.
Is Dan Juma coming back? Have you seen the Instagram? Have you seen it?
No, do you know what? Okay, yeah, so that's the Instagram of him.
So he just randomly posted an old photo of himself in a Bournemouth top, and then we've got a new manager.
Well, I don't know. So for a start, obviously there's a link. Rayo Vallecano, the ANDONI ARAOLA will know Dan Juma for having played against him in La Liga. We as a club desperately tried everything to get Dan Juma in January. We offered him an incredible package. We rolled out the red carpet, and he still turned us down. Now, I think if you speak to Dan Juma and say, maybe you regret that decision. I know you played for a huge club in Tottenham. I know you had that opportunity in London and so on and so forth, but you didn't really play. You weren't really a part of it. At Bournemouth, you would have probably been the main man. You would have started pretty much every game if you were fit. You probably would have scored 4, 5, 6 goals. And, has Bournemouth moved on from Dan Juma? Do they think now under Bill that we can get better players with a new manager this summer? Do we think we can go one stage further than get someone who turned us down in January? And I know the club were hurt by that, because they really did roll out the red carpet and provide him with the best possible financial package they could, which I think was as good, if not better, than what he got at Everton and Tottenham. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit cryptic. Maybe that's let's be honest. Arnie isn't stupid. No. He loved when everyone was talking about him for days and days and days and days. Where are you going? What's happening? And he put out messages on social media, and he'd do little things, and then he'd turn up at Everton, and then he didn't actually sign for Everton, and he kept everyone lingering, and he was eating breakfast in the canteen at the training ground. He was saying hello to the players, even though he hadn't signed. He'd done his media interviews, and then the next thing you know, he's headed down to London and he's joining Spurs. He likes the attention. He likes people to talk about him. And I'm pretty certain this might just be one of those little moments where he goes, well, why not? Let's just chuck it out there, because I want to go back to the Premier League. I enjoyed my time at Bournemouth. It's a great club. They're clearly going places with a new manager and a new owner and a new training ground, and I want to be a part of it. So, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if it was just a little bit of play acting from Arnie there.
You never know. Mark, we appreciate you're busy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers, Mark.
And enjoy the game tonight. I'm sure it'll be a healthy England win, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, although England have never beat North Macedonia at home. So, yeah, I think it might be a lot more difficult than people expect. But, yeah, look, this is me. So my cameraman's there, Matt.
Yeah.
And
Hello,
that
Matt.
is Old Trafford. Just
Look, there it is.
So I don't know if you
Beautiful.
can see that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Old
it's no
Trafford.
Dean Court, though, is it, Mark? It's no Dean Court.
It's not Dean Court, no.
Thanks for coming on, Mark.
Cheers, Mark.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Take
Thank you,
care. That's Mark McAdam from Sky Sports News there. So really interesting to hear what
He gave us
he had to say.
Gave us the exclusive without knowing because we found it on Twitter, and then he come on at the end. That's
Yeah.
lovely. I just had a brief look while he was chatting there.
Yeah.
Dan Juma's never scored against Vallecano, so I was just checking to see if he done really well against them or something. But Vallecano actually on the double on Villarreal the season just gone.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And Villarreal beat him a few times when that gaffer would have been there, but Dan Juma never scored. I was just checking that out. But yeah, exciting times, mate.
Exciting times.
I'm knackered.
for
All I've done is
AFC
talk about
Bournemouth.
football.
Yeah, I know, exactly. You know, like we were enjoying this little break that we're having,
Yeah,
and then all of a
lovely
sudden
break.
we're thrust into the limelight yet again. 5 things you didn't know about ARAOLA. There's an article on the AFCB website, so do check out afcb.co.uk. But I'm going to run through the 5 things that you might not have known about him. 1, impressive playing career. Well, we heard all about that, didn't we? Also, early silverware. We heard about what he did for Larnaca in Cyprus. Europa League pedigree, we know all about that. And that tessellates with what Bill Foley says about what he wants for the future of AFC Bournemouth. Not next season or the season after, but possibly after that. Emulating a Brighton maybe. Love Bournemouth, what? 2 Copa del Rey semi-final appearances, that's pretty good. And also, the double over Barcelona. El Clasico double, they're calling it on AFCB. I thought that was like only the name for the game between Barcelona or Real Madrid. Maybe that's the name for whoever plays Barcelona. But, you know, really interesting to see. Wow. So Gary O'Neill is gone, and, you know, like we sort of tried to do. I mean, it's been very difficult to pay our respects to this man whilst everything's been so fast moving. I feel for the likes of Sky Bet, who haven't had the chance to take that much money in that kind of 2-hour window. But wow.
How have we managed to appoint a new manager before Southampton? They haven't had a manager for God knows. At least they haven't appointed one. All man, maybe. Yeah, like you say, Gary. I thought it was interesting when Mark mentioned that. I know there were murmurings, but obviously Mark confirming that a number of Championship clubs kind of inquired about Gary O'Neill before he got the job with us. And it sounds like he went, no, Bournemouth have been really good to me. I'm going to see this out here. And then obviously this has happened. And as Mark alluded to, as I did as well, I don't think it was anything against Gary. I think it was they really liked ARAOLA and he was available. But that's the ruthless business we're in. I do feel for Gaz, but I think once time's settled, he'll be okay because of it. And this will be a really good experience for him. And I wish him all the best for sure, mate. But show me the way to ARAOLA.
It reminds me, right? Lucy, I was with Lucy on Friday, went to a house party, right?
Yeah, you were young, aren't you?
Oh, I tell you what,
House party?
Yeah, house party. She bought a load of these beers called Rossini beers, and they were looked like Peroni, but it was Rossini. It's like Dillon's own brand. But when I was at the party,
other supermarkets are available.
Yeah, like when I was at the party, there were also some Peronis there. Like have a Peroni.
I went straight for the Peroni.
Because it's kind of like that.
That's
Like
a good shout.
you'd be happy with what you got.
Yeah.
But when you got the real deal, then you know, no disrespect to Rossini because you'll have it. But like I say, it's just one of these things that he came along at the right time, and we've got him. And I don't know this for a fact, but there were murmurings of AFC Bournemouth being linked with the likes of De Zerbi.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, had it not been for some awful timing in terms of the war and stuff, I mean...
We had a Russian owner at the time.
You know, exactly. Yeah. Like the optics of a Ukrainian manager.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it was, you know, perhaps a case of just waiting for the takeover to happen. It didn't. And then, obviously, you know, Potter left for Chelsea, De Zerbi went to Brighton, and then we missed our chance. So I think it shows a bit of ruthlessness. It shows that the board are looking to strike while the iron's hot, and they sort of realise this. You know, this could be the manager to take us up to the next level. I don't think it's something that's been brewing for ages. I think it's something that maybe over the last couple of weeks. Otherwise, if they'd known it was happening, they would have got rid of Gary O'Neill at the end of the season. So I think it's just one of these things. They've been sorting out all the finer details, and at the stage where they feel as though they can announce it, then they have.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Agree with your kind of metaphor as well, mate. It's basically, I'm here with you, but if Chris Temple stood there, I wouldn't be on here, would I? You just got me and I know I'm your Gary O'Neill, aren't I? I'm your Gary O'Neill. I'm your Gary O'Neill, but anyway, fine margins.
Fine margins. Look, we appreciate everyone that's joined us. Look, this is a very immediate reaction. It's very raw, so it's probably been very unstructured. So apologies for that. But we just want to place on record that, not that we feel as though we need to, but sorry for doubting you, Gary O'Neill. But we're so glad you did the job, and I'm sure you'll do so well. But also our excitement for the new manager as well. Welcome to the Premier League, ANDONI IRAOLA. I don't want to say Areola, but
is it Iriola? I really don't know. Andoni.
I can't be making that mistake. But look, there'll be more reaction on Back of the Net. I'm absolutely certain. So if you haven't already, there are a couple of things that you can do. Not least, there's this button that involves a thumb, Tom.
Oh yeah, click that. What else have I got to click? Oh god, I feel a bit rusty. Click that, click the bell, and then you'll know. You might have just come on because you missed that we went live. If you had the bell on, it would have told you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like gets out to more people, and just click subscribe because we want to keep going up. Hopefully we might get some. Like, do you remember when we got? I always remember when we got Callum Wilson from Coventry. There was like sky blue cherries because they loved him and that.
Yeah.
Might get some Vallecano fans come over. So if you're watching this, give it a little subscribe as well.
I bet Sky Sports are absolutely kicking themselves. They've already made their choices for the first weekend. I mean, how can they not have picked Bournemouth with a new manager against West Ham United, fresh from their Europa Conference?
As long as we get a point in the first game, he's done more than we did last season against West Ham in 2, so it'll be fine. But yeah, looking forward to it, mate. And nothing more glamorous than his first pre-season game being Hibernian. What a blimmin' heck. But at least in Marbella, I suppose.
Yeah, it's in Marbella. Look, thanks very much for all the comments, Heather, Robbie, Tony, Ben, Mark, Sammy James is here. Should have got Parker back. No, Sam. Well, where's his next job going to be, Sammy? Be really interesting.
He's going to be fighting with O'Neill now for a championship job, I reckon.
And O'Neill will probably get it.
They'll be linked with similar clubs now, which is interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting. My little outside shout is because Middlesbrough are doing really well, where Carrick's really highly thought of.
Yeah.
If he were to get a move, someone take a punt on Carrick, say Palace or someone. O'Neill's very well liked at Borough, isn't he? Maybe a job like that. He'd play well for Borough. I'm just thinking for O'Neill. But I want O'Neill v Parker very soon. And I'll be cheering on O'Neill, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's... You know what, I do feel sorry for him in some ways, but look, he had a long contract. He'll have been handsomely paid for it.
Plus, what it is.
He's been given the springboard now to permanent managership at whichever club he desires in the Championship, I suppose. So yeah, fair play to him for that. Tom, it's been a pleasure, and for you guys, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, loved it, mate. Yeah, no, it was really nice. Nice to be having a break from football, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll be back soon with some more detailed reaction, I'm certain. But look, go outside, enjoy the sunshine, refresh afcb.co.uk. I'm sure there'll be an interview on there soon. And until next time, up the cherries.
Hey, Dan Juma show coming soon.